All right, today is all about gaining the undeniable advantage. This is the great SEO-SEM robbery and how to stop the thievery in automotive search. Now, I want to start today to understand that this is not a class on Google Analytics. This is not a technical training. This is not how to write PPC keyword algorithms on your own. Today is about how to stop your SEO and SEM vendors from wasting your money. You do not need to be an expert on Google Analytics to do this. You do not need to be an expert on PPC keyword algorithms to be able to do this. Your vendors do. You just need to know how to stop the theft, the fraud, and the waste, and you need to know what good performance looks like. Now, let's level set right from the beginning, okay? Google is not your friend, all right? For PPC, Google is a vendor, all right? This doesn't make them bad. It's just important that we level set this, okay? Google provides a service in exchange for money. Buy more of their service, they make more money. This means we need to keep everything. We need to take everything that Google says about PPC and weigh it against their interests and our interests. It's really not that hard to do. In fact, Google and their premier partners, they want to make the most money off of you that they can, all right? So when someone comes to you and says, hey, we're a Google premier partner, hey, that's great. I don't know what that means for me though, okay? So let's remember that. They're a vendor. Now, that's okay. It's okay that Google and its premier partners want to make as much money as they can off of you. That's how capitalism works. But Google's own advice to their partners, the vendors who are selling you the PPC, is that they don't even want these vendors having humans managing your campaigns. And that's a mistake. They want your vendors to just use it. And this is Google's words. Just use a bid optimization program and let it run. There are a lot of problems with that. We see crazy costs for keywords. We see terrible ROI. We see lots and lots of waste when that happens. So understand this. Google is a vendor. All right. Again, it doesn't make them bad people. We need to understand that Google's advice on pay-per-click, that should be looked at the same way that you might take Lamar's advice on billboards, right? You know, the billboard company. And how you might take their advice. See, Lamar is motivated to tell you how great billboards are, aren't they, right? And Google's motivated to tell you how great PPC is, right? To point you in all their research to spending more on PPC and to doing YouTube pre-roll. Now, I'm not saying these companies are bad. Lamar's not bad. Google's not bad. But they don't make money telling you to spend your budget elsewhere, do they? So let's level set that, all right? And just for a minute, and this is really big for my folks who are in automotive. I don't know what this crazy obsession is with all things Google. It's just odd to me. No offense to those of you who, ooh and ah when you visit the Googleplex, like you're standing at the birthplace of humanity or you're hanging with Beyonce. But ask yourself, would I snap selfies in front of the Lamar headquarters in 1981, right? 1985? Would I go to the billboard company and say, hey, look, Mom, I'm at CBS Outdoor, Lamar? We've got to put Google in the right bucket, in the right place. Google is a vendor, and they should be treated as such. Your ad agency and your SEO providers, they're vendors, and they should be treated as such. Now, while all these vendors claim that they're going to provide you unbiased advice, the fact remains that none of them makes more money when you spend less, okay? So they're not your friends, they're your vendors. Of course, though, just to level set again on Google, it would be foolish not to always take Google's advice on SEO, search engine optimization. Why? Listen, SEO, search engine optimization done against Google's wishes could earn you penalties for your website that will cost you business. And when it comes to SEO, Google isn't trying to sell you a thing. They just want to return the most relevant results, relevant organic results to their users. All right, we're going to start with SEO today, then we're going to get into PPC, and then finally display. So when we talk about SEO, I want to ask the question, is some of what's going on, is it fraud or is it just laziness? First, again, let's level set. One of the easiest things for anyone to do is to attack the search engine optimization on any website. There are some conflicting opinions about what is good versus bad SEO. And also, with the lousy SEO reporting that's provided to most dealers right now, any site's SEO can be made to look good or bad. It's an art form in a lot of ways, and we need to understand that. But fraudulent SEO usually includes an attack on your current SEO. All right, so when we're looking for what might be fraudulent SEO, realize they're always going to start by attacking your current SEO. Unfortunately, that's also what the honest SEO companies are probably going to do if you're currently being stolen from. So we're going to talk about ways to figure out whether or not your SEO is effective in just a little bit. Here's another way. Fraudulent SEO usually includes an email promising to get you to #1 on Google. Okay, so it's an email that just gets sent to you, and it comes from a Gmail address, which is really strange. They don't even have a website. If they're so great at getting you to #1 on Google, why wouldn't they have a website where they're #1 on Google for relevant keywords? Makes sense, right? Fraudulent SEO usually includes buying inbound links. So when they promise to generate a lot of links for you, that's fraudulent SEO. That could get you hurt. Changing your Google Analytics account is always part of a lot of the fraudulent activity that happens today. So they'll change your Google Analytics account, you lose all your past, all the history, and you can't do the comparisons. And also, finally, claiming to have some sort of secret sauce, right? Something they can't tell you about, but they've cracked the Google algorithms and they've got this secret sauce that's going to get you to #1. I'm telling you right now that is probably fraudulent, okay? So let's do this. Today, let's agree that for the average car dealer, all search is local, okay? I'm not talking about every dealer out there. I'm not talking about the ones that sell a lot from coast to coast. I'm talking about for the average dealer, all search is local. So buying or ranking for a keyword that's 2,000 miles from your dealership, that isn't what your search goals should be, right? It's too expensive if you're doing it for SEM, search engine marketing, or pay-per-click, and it won't last with SEO. See, Google's too smart to let you continue to rank organically too far outside your market. See, they use something called RankBrain. Again, this isn't a technical Google Analytics class, so don't worry about this, but Google uses something called RankBrain. It measures the quality of a consumer's visit to your site. So let's say that you're sitting there in Ohio on the red dot, right? And you're ranking for Ford tires nationally, right? I go to Google, I'm up here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, the blue dot, and I search for Ford tires. And I'm 2,000 miles away, and I click on your organic search result. Well, guess what happens? I see that you're in Ohio, and I discover, wow, they're 2,000 miles away. I go back to Google, and I choose again. And that little action quickly sinks your ranking because all search for the average dealer is local, and you're going to tell RankBrain that you're not a good result in my market. It's as simple as that. All right, now let's be clear. Not every dealer needs to spend on SEO. I want to say that again because your OEM will tell you differently. Your website provider will tell you differently, and every SEO out there will tell you differently. Not every dealer needs to spend a dime on SEO. Most of today's websites are built to be optimized for search out of the box. Isn't that what they told you when they sold you your website, right? Didn't they come in and tell you how search friendly they were? Then why'd they turn around with a $2,000 SEO package right after that, right? Hey, now you got to buy SEO. Wait a minute, you told us you were search friendly out of the box. You know what? They weren't lying. They truly are. Nearly every website for dealers today is optimized for search right out of the box. Plus, Google wants you to be found if you're the most relevant choice for the consumer. So we're going to look at a couple of examples here. Here's the first one. We're going to look at 2 dealers in 2 markets. First, let's look at Gene Steffi Ford in Columbus, Nebraska. Now, I picked them at random. I've never done any business with Gene Steffi Ford. I just picked them at random. They're about an hour away from their nearest Ford competitor. Now, what could outside ongoing SEO services do for them? Think about this. Google is not going to rank Gene Steffi Ford in the organic ranks at #1 or #2 for the term Ford dealer near Lincoln or Omaha, Nebraska. Okay? So they buying that SEO to try to get to be ranked to #1 or 2, it's just not going to happen. However, Google's pretty smart. People living in or near their market, near Gene Steffi Ford, they're going to find them via searches like Ford dealer near me without the need for Gene Steffi Ford to spend a dime on outside SEO services, provided, of course, that their website was set up correctly in the first place. Now let's look at another dealership, another Ford dealership. This is Fair Oaks Ford in Naperville, Illinois. Again, I picked them at random. Their nearest Ford competitor is 8 miles away. I know a lot of you can attribute that to your market as well. You're a Ford dealer and you've got your closest competitor 8 miles away. Most of you drive past your competitor to get to your own dealership, and that's the way most markets are. So does Fair Oaks Ford, again, I've never done any business with them, but does Fair Oaks Ford need a little more than out-of-the-box SEO? Yes, of course. But are they getting it? Now, I have no idea. I've never dealt with them, so I'll speak in general terms only. I'm not talking about Fair Oaks Ford now. I'm just talking in general. But first, let's look at SEO reporting, the stuff that's out there today. Google Analytics tells you nothing about your SEO effectiveness or search visibility. Even traffic counts are meaningless. I want to be clear. Since your marketing and your market will have a bigger impact on your organic traffic. Plus, most dealers' organic search traffic comes from name searches like Steve's Ford or Steve's Ford Dallas. So I'm going to dive in on this report just to bring it over. And I want you to tell me if anybody can look at this report and you can tell me whether this dealer's search visibility improved or declined, their search visibility, how visible they are for relevant searches in their market. Did it improve or decline year over year? Can you tell me by looking at the report? And the point is, no, you cannot, because 98% of the organic keywords are not shared on most dealer sites. Now, why? Well, primarily because of things called data encryption and restrictions of secure websites. And again, this is not a Google Analytics class, so you don't need to get down and dirty in that. Now, you can see some of this data using what's called Google's Search Console. But again, this is not a Google Analytics class. That's not what we're doing here. Plus, here's the problem with Google Search Console. It's proving to have lots of inaccuracies, and that's a problem, all right? For example, we looked at the average position for top keywords in Google Search Console against actual searches for those keywords in the market, all right? Where we actually looked at the searches in the market and where particular keywords ranked, and then where Google Search Console told us they ranked in the market. Now, for one of our examples where Google showed a keyword ranking at 8.1 average position, means they're on the first page of Google, right? But they're at the 8th result, which means almost no one's going to see it. We found that keyword, we were actually ranked 1.3 on average. So that's a big difference, isn't it, right? Why? Why the big difference? You'll have to ask Google, because just humor me for a moment. Who gains when you think you rank 8th for an important keyword that you really think you should be ranking 1 or 2? See, if it were my dealership, I'd increase my PPC spending against that keyword, wouldn't I? Oh my gosh, I only rank 8th for this really, really important keyword because that's what Google Search Console told me. I may need to run out and spend more money. So I don't know if that's the reason why Google isn't showing exact results. It may be because they're not taking actual measurements in the market, but that they're taking approximate measurements in the market, generally by zip code, not by latitude and longitude like someone would do on their mobile device. But regardless, until Search Console can be perfected, it cannot be relied upon, unfortunately, for what we're trying to do. Now, again, on this report, can you tell me from this report whether the dealer should spend more or less with their SEO provider, right? You can't. This, by the way, is the litmus test for all providers of leads and traffic, okay? So again, dealers, any vendor you have that provides you sales leads or traffic, okay, which an SEO provider technically provides you a little bit of both, the litmus test is, can I tell based on the reports whether to spend more, spend less, or spend the same? And if I cannot answer that question, I don't know whether to spend more, less, or the same, then what I need to do is just cancel that vendor and save the money. Truly is. It's not just SEO, it's all of your vendors. If I can't tell from their reports and my reports, CRM, Google Analytics, whatever I'm looking at, if I can't tell from the reports whether to spend more or less or the same, I might as well get rid of that spend, okay? Now, how about SEO vendor reports? Well, unfortunately, my attorney wouldn't let me show you an actual report from any provider who I have found truly bilking their dealers for expensive yet worthless SEO service. So I chose to show you this confused dog instead, right? And why? Well, because this is the look that you should give your SEO provider when they show you their reports. But let's highlight some of the info that we can get from various vendor reports that I have collected over the years, over the last actually 18 months or so, from SEO providers. And here's what we find. We find these types of measurements, these types of metrics. Now, so they give me a report and says organic traffic is up. That's good, right? Okay. But is it because of their SEO? I can't tell, can I? Maybe I'm running a lot of ads in the market. Maybe I'm a Ford dealer and Ford is really hot right now. That's going to drive up a lot of organic traffic. There are lots of reasons that your organic traffic is going to go up that have nothing, absolutely zero to do with the quality of the SEO on your website. So just because you're showing me my organic traffic is up or down, I cannot tell from that report if that is good or bad. How about conversions? Hey, conversions are up, right? Well, is that good? Well, sure, it's a good thing, except wait, what do you call a conversion? Right? I looked at one SEO report recently that showed the dealer that conversions were up, and they were way up as soon as they switched to this new SEO provider. Magically. You know why? Because the new SEO provider was calling map lookups a conversion. It's not a conversion. Let's do conversions. Let's look at conversions that humans can do. Leads, phones, okay? Chats, text. Those are conversions that human can do. But even that, I cannot tell from the reporting if conversions are up, whether my SEO had anything to do with it or not, because I don't know if they've increased my search visibility. How about page views? Up or down? Okay, up. My page views are up. So should I spend more or less? See, by the way, page views would go down if traffic was dropped on the proper page, right? So if all your traffic comes to the home page and people have to search through 3 or 4 different pages to find out what they want, page views go up. But if they're put right on the page that they were looking for and it had all the information that they needed, they would become a bounce, wouldn't they? They would jump away right away. How about top keywords and keyword performance? Whatever your vendor's calling it, it doesn't tell you a few really important things. And this is I want you to take a second on this. I want to know on my keywords, how do I compare to my competitors? Don't just tell me I'm in the second spot, but who's number one, right? I also want to know, how do I rank on near me searches, right? Ford dealer near me, because these are huge on mobile. And so I want to know Ford service near me, Ford dealer near me, Ford Mustang near me. I want to know how I rank on near me searches, again, against my competitor. And I want to be able to see, did I improve or decline relative to the market week over week? So it's not enough to show me a snapshot at the end of the month and say, look, you're number 2 for this keyword. I want to know, where am I compared to my competitors? How did I look week over week over, say, the last 52 weeks, right? Where am I ranking? How's it going? Am I moving up or down? Which competitors are moving up? Which ones are moving down? I need to know that relative to them, but I also want to know in the near me searches. See, the keyword reporting that I see with a lot of SEO vendors out there is, especially when they're your website company, at least that's where I've seen the most of this, their keyword reporting is often worthless because the reporting is just a fire hydrant of keywords. And most of these keywords are what we call zero volume keywords, right? Zero volume keywords are keywords that no one uses. No one really types those in, but your website ranks number 1 for those keywords. Congratulations. But nobody's using that in your market. See, you think it's good SEO when it's not. And that's one of the biggest things we uncover. Now, domain authority, that's an important piece, right? And I want to see my domain authority go up. Again, we're not a Google Analytics class. Let your SEO explain to you what domain authority is. But here's what I want to know. Domain authority's up. Great. Why? Right? They need to be able to explain why your domain authority is up in words that you can understand. See, with all of these metrics, you need to ask your SEO this. What did you do? What did your company do specifically to improve this metric last month? Question number 2, did it work? And they're going to tell you, oh, sure, everything we did worked. And you're going to say, great, show me. Show me the vendor journal that you keep for my dealership. Vendor journal, yeah. If someone is actually completing SEO work for you, they should be reporting back to you the work that they were able to complete, all of the things that they did in a journal, right? Now, you're going to be shocked at what they report. This didn't happen in Austin, but I'm going to use Austin as an example. I was working with one of my clients, and we wanted to know what they did last month to help the dealership rank higher in Google searches for relevant keywords. And they pointed to a blog that they wrote last month, and the blog was how to winterize your car for Austin winters. I don't know if you've ever been to Austin, Texas, but nobody winterizes their cars, okay? Even though this year has been a particularly bad winter for Austin, you still don't need to winterize your car for Austin, Texas. And again, this wasn't Austin, Texas, but it was a market just like Austin. Is that fraud or laziness? I don't know. But I do know this. It did nothing to improve their search visibility. Now, here's the bottom line on all these SEO reports. The information that you get from these SEO reports provided by your vendors is mostly worthless drivel that's thrown into pretty charts. There is generally nothing actionable in what is presented. For example, should we spend more or less on SEO? You can't tell from these reports. Should we change our keyword focus? You cannot tell from these reports. And what are the current threats to our search visibility? You cannot tell from these vendor reports. So whether you're Gene Steffi Ford or Fair Oaks Ford, what can you do to protect yourself from this fraud and or laziness? First, think about this. Consider not buying SEO from your website provider. They should be giving you their very best right out of the box. Right? Isn't that what he sold you? Second, review the reports, and if there's no actionable information, meaning I'm looking at their reports and I see that they're showing great results, but I don't know what action to take. Spend more, spend less, do this, do that. If there's no actionable information, which there won't be on their reports, cancel your SEO spend immediately. And third, SEO vendors cannot serve two masters. All right? Make sure your SEO provider grants you an automotive market exclusive. Yes, the great ones will, because they're hands-on, because they can't take 1,000 clients, right? They can only handle about 50 to 100 clients. See, it's not enough, right, that they just give you a make exclusivity in your market. Since most dealers' real needs for increased search visibility rest with used cars, right? You probably come up pretty good for Ford dealer near me when people are near your Ford dealership. But where you really struggle with is for used cars. So again, this is Fair Oaks Ford in the Naperville and just some of their Naperville competition. Now, where would they rank if you searched used car dealer near me on a mobile device? That's where they need the SEO help. And what if the same SEO vendor was providing SEO services to every little red dot that you see? They can't serve two masters. They certainly can't serve 20 masters. And by the way, if you want to know how the distance from top to bottom on this chart, it's about 3 miles. It's about 3 miles top to bottom. And so you can't have an SEO provider that's also providing Toyota of Naperville SEO services and Fair Oaks Ford SEO services. You just can't do that because something's got to give. Somebody's got to be better than the other. Somebody's got to be number one. All right. So let's take a look at SEO. You know, what do we need to measure and how do we measure that? So first, let's talk about what good SEO is. There is no secret sauce. The only white hat SEO that has ever endured, that means been good over time, is simply this formula here, okay? Good content plus good distribution of that content equals good SEO. See, this has withstood the test of time. This was true in 2008, and it's true today. This is what drives quality traffic and quality links back to your website. Now, what is good content? Good content is simply what people want to read. It's also content they'll share. That's your distribution when they start sharing it with others. Now, it's relevant and useful. That's what good content is, not how to prepare your car for Austin winters. It's well written, especially if it's a blog, okay? And it's timely. There is no secret sauce. Though remember, this is not an SEO class. I'm just giving you the overview of what good content is. Your team doesn't need an SEO class. I'm not trying to give you an SEO class. They need to know how to easily and accurately measure your relative search visibility over time. Search visibility, by the way, is just a way of saying, how high do I rank for the important keywords? But it's how high you rank locally and relative to your competition that matters. So let's learn the basic Google SRP, SERP, Search Engine Results Page. I know lots of you know what this is, but I want to make sure that we level set and everybody gets the same information. All right, this is the Search Engine Results Page, SERP. Now, results in Area 1, those are paid ads, pay-per-click, PPC, SEM, search engine marketing. Results in Area 2, those are the free or the organic listings. Results in Area 3 are the Google My Business listing. Now, you're also going to hear this called Google Local, Google Pages, Google Maps. Some people also call it the business card. So all of those are the same thing. Now, for SEO measurement, we focus on areas 2 and area 3, but your SEO, your vendor, might only show that you rank second in the organic spot for Honda dealer, right? Under number 2, in area number 2. Now, what does that tell you? Should you spend more to be number 1 if you rank second for Honda dealer in your market? I don't know. What if Honda.com is ranked number 1? right? But you had the second, third, and fourth results for Honda dealer, and you had the Google My Business, right, or the business card. Now, would you spend more to maximize that keyword? Of course not. You can't compete with your OEM in this case. You've already got the business card, so somebody looking for the Honda dealer is going to find you, and you basically dominate page 1 with results number 2, 3, and 4. But your SEO doesn't show you all that, do they? They show that you rank second for Honda dealer. You're ranking relative to competition, okay, over time, right? And who has the business card? The Google My Business, for searches conducted in your market, are 99% of what you need to know about any keyword that's important to you. So my rank relative to competition, over time, and who's got the business card. That's what's important, okay? Your SEO probably doesn't show you any of that. Also, with the emphasis on mobile, most generic dealer searches don't include the word dealer plus city name, right? So Steve's Ford Dallas or Ford Dealer Dallas, right? They're either near me, right? Ford dealer near me, or they're make city, Ford Dallas, or simply make plus dealer, Ford dealer, right? They don't have Ford dealer Dallas, Ford dealer near Dallas, right? Yet those are the keywords that your SEO is trying to get you to rank for. So let's also track that way, all right? As far as I know, there's only one. There's no other tool. This is the only tool that lets you track relative search position over time from a location actually in your market. Plus one that compares you to all the competition and shows who is getting the Google My Business results for keywords important to you. It's the only way I know to hold your SEO vendor accountable. See, I'm not advocating you get rid of your SEO. I'm saying let's find a way to actually hold the SEO vendor accountable. Let's find a way to show the SEO, to help the SEO, even if we're doing the SEO in-house. Let's find a way to maximize our efforts on SEO. Now, there are places on the web that you can manually gather bits and pieces of similar or approximate data in real time, but there's nowhere I know to get these historical trends from actual searches done within your market or anywhere to get all of this competitive data combined into one place. Now, this chart, I'm going to dive into a little bit here. This chart is for used Hyundai. Now, at a glance, I can tell you how my store ranks, right? So let's make my store the orange dot. So at the beginning of the chart, I'm 5th place, right? By the time we get to the end of the chart, I'm in 1st place. But at a glance, I can tell you how my store ranks relative to all the competitors, not just the other Hyundai store. So what's interesting is we're so concerned sometimes about where we rank with the other Hyundai store, with the other competitor in market, that we end up losing where we rank against the actual competitors. See, most SEOs don't even show you how you rank over time, let alone against Carfax, against Car Gurus, against Auto Trader, or against the other dealers. So I can see this over time, and I can call my SEO vendor to the carpet when my relative rank slips. Now with SEO, everybody is your competition. Let me repeat that. With SEO, everybody is your competition. It's not just the other Hyundai store. In fact, it's most often third-party sites like Carfax, Car Gurus, and Auto Trader. And knowing exactly where you rank relative to all the competitors over time for important keywords locally is the only way to know if your SEO efforts are paying off. So let me go over that again. I want to know exactly where I rank relative to my competitors over time for the keywords locally. The search is actually done locally in my market. It's the only way I know if my SEO is paying over time. All right, so here's the other part of this. The Google My Business results. See, these must be easy to track and verify. See, remember, for dealers, all search is local, and not getting the business card or not being in what we call the local pack, what Google calls the local pack, that's another map type result in the search engine results page. It's like the Google My Business, but there's more than one result. If you don't know where you rank, if you're not getting the business card or the local pack for important keywords, that's costly. See, with this tool that I'm going to show you, I can not only see who gets the Google My Business result for my keywords, but I can also click to see the exact search engine results page from that day. So I can look back, let's say that this was 4 weeks ago with the tool, and I see that on this particular keyword, I got the Google My Business results. We covered up the names of the dealer in this. I can click over and I can see exactly what the search engine results page looked like for that day. And that's important to understand. It's not just that snapshot at the end of the month. Oh, look, you were an average of 2 for this keyword. No, this is what you looked like on January 25th, 2018 against all of your competitors. Here's what they looked like. Here's what the SERP looked like for that keyword search in the market. Now, the tool is called SearchStation. Listen, I'm just telling you about it, all right? It allows you to hold your SEO vendor accountable using accurate, local, independent third-party reporting. It focuses you on the keywords and the SEO activity that drives better performance with those keywords. It takes the measurements physically in your market. Understand that. It's not just approximating based on a zip code, but it's actually a box that rests in your market and takes the measurements for you. Now, I'm not spending a lot of time on this. You can reach out to them for more information. You can talk to the folks at SearchStation. But here's what they do. SearchStation puts a box in your market. You choose where. And it makes regular, anonymous searches of Google for the keywords that matter to your sales or your service. You tell them the keywords you want. Now, they'll give you a set of keywords to start off with, whatever, but you can change those over time. So you can measure in your PMA, or you can have the box move to a neighboring PMA. It's your decision. SearchStation is going to show you exactly what your local prospects, what they see on desktop or mobile. And it's the only way I know to keep your SEO provider, whether they're in-house or outsourced, focused on your actual search visibility. How do I look for the keywords that are important to me? See, you don't need an SEO expert on your team. You just need the right accountability, the right tool, and the right reports. It's very simple. All right, I told you I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on that. We're going to jump into section 4 here. We're going to look at the SEM practices, the best and the worst practices of search engine marketing on the pay-per-click side. Now, rather than just tell you how some vendors are taking advantage of dealers, I'm going to give you some real examples I personally discovered and then tell you how to combat these. And by the way, SEM shouldn't mean steal everyone's money, but unfortunately, for some SEM vendors out there in automotive today, they are in effect doing exactly that. All right, so first let's level set again. Search engine marketing cannot and should not be a do-it-yourself endeavor. Again, search engine marketing cannot be a do-it-yourself event. You cannot do this yourself. You would pay a lot more to have someone in-house manually do the tasks that a good SEM provider can do automatically. So I'm trying to cut out all waste on your side. That includes having your own people do it. So instead of trying to become an expert on the ever-changing world of SEM, your team should become experts at holding all digital vendors accountable. So additionally, just like with SEO, see, not every dealer needs to spend on SEM. Let me give you a couple of examples where I've uncovered wasted SEM dollars. This isn't fraud, this is just waste. A service department that's over capacity, but they have they have co-op with their OEM for service keywords, so they're spending $2,000 a month of their money on service keywords for a total $4,000 a month spend. Well, let me go back to where I started with that. They're over capacity. They have all the business they need, and they're buying more business via the keywords. But here's the good news for them. The keywords they were buying were terrible, and they had no ROI. So anyway, that's a waste, right? We need to cut that waste out. That's an actual example. How about this? I watched a dealer who was trying to conquest a particular make model outside of their PMA. They were struggling with a truck, let's say Chevy Silverado. Let's say they were a Chevy dealer. And they could not generate enough business within their PMA on their pay-per-click, so they went specifically outside their PMA and tried to generate Chevy Silverado leads using pay-per-click. And we found out that they were roughly spending about $800 per lead by trying to buy this outside of their market using the pay-per-click. That doesn't make any sense. You can buy an AutoWeb lead for 25 bucks, but they were spending $800 a lead because they were trying to do pay-per-click outside their PMA. That's just a waste, all right? Just a waste. Again, it's probably not fraud. It's just a waste. But here's where we've actually discovered theft, okay? This is the #1 area where I've discovered SEM theft, and it's in the administrative or the management fees. Now, this is a real-world example that we're going to dive into here, but I want to make sure that we understand this real-world example. This dealer was actually spending $10,000 where you see subtotal and not where it says 1,000, but I just wanted to keep the numbers easy. All right, so this dealer was told that they were paying a 20% management fee. So let's look at the vendor invoice, the green side. They were paying a 20% management fee for their SEM purchases, search engine marketing purchases. Their dealer invoice, right? The invoice they got from the vendor showed a 20% management fee, right? $800 spent on Google, $200 spent on Bing, $1,000 total, management fee, $200. Okay, that's a 20%, right? That's correct. Well, when we did a deep dive, we discovered the dealer was paying more than 40% for management fees because the red invoice should have been their real invoice. The vendor's invoice showed the Google and Bing spend, showed a line for management fees of 20%. The problem was that the Google and the Bing spends were inflated by roughly 15%. Now, this is just an example, but this is what we found. The dealer's actual management fee was about 41% for this spend. Now, again, this is just an example. The dealer was actually spending north of $10,000 a month on PPC. So do the math. They were wasting about $30,000 on PPC budget that wasn't going to keywords that they thought it was. $30,000 a year just thrown away. Now, how do we stop this SEM theft? It's very simple. Very, very simple. Pay the search engines directly. Let me say that again. Pay the search engines directly. But Steve, our SEM says we can't do that. Google won't accept our credit card. Listen, Google will accept anyone's credit card. And using your own credit card means that you get to earn points or miles for those purchases. If your vendor tells you that you cannot pay Google directly, you need to run. You need to run as fast as you can the other way because that is the biggest area where I see theft. And I see this almost every time I inspect a dealer's pay-per-click. Now, when you pay by paper check or electronic funds transfer, EFT, you're allowing unscrupulous companies to hide where the money is actually spent. Now, not all SEM companies that want you to pay them instead of Google are unscrupulous. But again, if you ask your vendor if you can pay Google directly, and your vendor will not set up your credit card to pay the search engines directly, then you need to run. Also, once they have this set up for you, ensure that they properly link your Google AdWords to your Google Analytics. See, that's their job, not your job to be the Google Analytics, Google AdWords expert. Now, but here's the deal. You see, everything is not theft. Some things are just incompetence. Another issue with bad SEM vendors is their inability or unwillingness to use the dealer's existing Google Analytics account. We found one vendor at one dealership I was working with who made the dealer remove their own Google Analytics code from their website in favor of the vendor's Google Analytics code. Let me say that again. What happened was the dealer got sold on an SEM package from their OEM, and so they went with that vendor. That vendor was told to work with the internet manager, so they called the internet manager and they said, hey, we need you to take down your Google Analytics code and put this up on the site. He didn't know if he thought that was okay because the OEM said to use this vendor. The dealer didn't know that this happened. Now, why would the vendor want to remove your Google Analytics code when they could have just added theirs if they wanted extra code on the site? Google doesn't care. That's a good question. See, the vendor told me that they do this in order to have admin access to Google Analytics in order to link the AdWords and create goals and maximize the paid search campaigns. Okay. But none of this requires a new Google Analytics account, and none of this means taking off the old Google Analytics account. Now, here's why they want to take off the old Google Analytics account is they don't want any comparisons made to their spend and the last vendor who was in there. Now, why wouldn't they want comparisons? Maybe they're not doing as good a job. Also, until I alerted this dealership, they had no idea that they had even lost access to their website's Google Analytics because the internet manager never looked at it, never told the dealer principal, and so he didn't know. And this went on for over a year. See, the vendor, after they put on their own Google Analytics code, they never even gave the dealership a login to the new Google Analytics. And you might be saying, hey, Steve, this is rare, right? This doesn't happen very often. Well, actually, it happens quite often. This is a major provider who has OEM endorsements, okay? So I want you to understand that I see this in about 90%. I see fraud or waste in about 90% of the dealerships where I inspect their PPC. So you do the math on that. Now, this vendor assumed, I guess, that the dealership would have asked for their Google Analytics, login at some point. Listen, a new Google Analytics account, I told you, means you lose all your history, okay? It means you have no clarity into what's working or whether or not it was working better or worse last year. When the Google Analytics is the vendor's and they couple this with the vendor's AdWords account, as it was in this case, you have no idea about the PPC results or costs and no access to the history of keyword performance should you change PPC providers? Let me explain that again. So they not only created their own AdWords account and didn't give the dealer access, and they created a new analytics account and didn't give the dealer access. They wiped out all of the dealer's old accounts. So when the dealer made a switch, after I showed him what was going on, and he made a switch to a new PPC provider, guess what? That PPC provider was in the dark because the vendor, the thieving vendor, left with their analytics and AdWords account. And so there was no history again. This is a problem. And when you cancel that vendor, see, that's what's going to happen. They're going to take both accounts with them so that your next vendor will have to start from scratch. Now, that's a huge red flag. Here's another one. Here's another huge red flag. The vendor basically says, we don't link PPC into your Google Analytics account because we use proprietary software and algorithms. I've heard that. Mr. Dealer, we will not link the PPC into your Google Analytics account because we use proprietary software and algorithms. Folks, not sure what their software has to do with this, but anyone buying Google AdWords must do so through the Google AdWords platform. And so it's nothing to link the two together. And because they're using the AdWords platform, they can easily link this into your Google Analytics account. When they link this, you can see the spend on both your AdWords and your Google Analytics accounts. The only reason not to link the two is to cover up theft and fraud. I cannot think of another reason why you wouldn't link AdWords to Analytics. If your vendor, if your provider of SEM will not link full AdWords data into Google Analytics, then you need to run. Now, you may also hear this. You know what? We can't show you our Google AdWords account because our other accounts are there. I've heard this too. See, the vendor's accounts, if the vendor's a premier provider, those are all contained in Google's Master Client Center. Every SEM has one of these, okay? So all the good SEMs have this, all the bad SEMs have this. It's Google's Master Client Center, MCC it's called. Now, you don't want access to MCC. You don't want to see all of their accounts, see, because Google set it up so that even if they have a Master Client Center and all their dealers are in there, it doesn't stop them from linking your AdWords to your Google Analytics. Let's be very, very clear on that. See, they don't want you to do this, right? They don't want to do this. They don't want to, because Google's Master Client Center is where the client can see the actual dollars the vendor spent on your behalf. They can show you just where you are on the Master Client Center. Again, well, let's say it this way. There should be 100% transparency, and if there's not, you need to run. Now, but I don't need to worry about that because if I pay Google directly, it solves this, right? I don't need to see their Master Client Center. So again, you need to be paying Google directly. If they won't let you pay Google, they won't link your AdWords to Google Analytics, and or they won't show you your data in the Master Client Center with the actual costs, right, showing in the Master Client Center, then you need to run. All right, so but here again, rather than worry about all this, just pay the search engines directly with your credit card. Earn the credit card points or miles. Stop worrying about the management fee theft. Doing this allows you to focus on getting AdWords linked to your Google Analytics account. Now, the best practice is to have conversion metrics clearly defined in the reporting and set up in Google Analytics. Now, if all the SEM wants to do is show you cost per click, because I see this, I see their reporting. They want to focus on cost per click, impressions, quality score, click-through rate, and average position. If this is all they want to show you, you need to run. Why? Because none of these are success metrics. Cost per click is not a success metric. I don't care. I don't care what my cost per click is. I care what my ROI is. Impressions are worthless. Don't tell me I got 2 million impressions. That means nothing, right? I don't care what my quality score is. You should care, Mr. Vendor, but not me. Great, you improved my quality score. Did I get more leads? Did I sell more cars? Click-through rate. I don't care. I can get a great click-through rate, and all of those people can leave my site right away and not do any business with me. And by the way, there's a great click-through rate when you buy my name, right? Steve's Ford Dallas. Buy that all day long, and all of a sudden, I got a great click-through rate. And again, average position. Sometimes being second or third on the list is better than being first with some keywords. None of these by themselves are success metrics. You don't need to be a Google Analytics expert. Your SEM should gladly set this up for you, right? Setting up the metrics, in the conversion metrics in Google Analytics. Ask your SEM to do this. They should be able to set this up for you and talk you through this data on a monthly webinar. And by the way, your monthly webinars with your SEM provider, they're 20 to 30 minutes tops. Your team does not need to be going to lunch with these folks. Your team does not need to see them in person. It's a 20-minute WebEx, and that's all you need. Now, for conversion tracking and SEM, and this probably goes to Brian's question, be sure to emphasize those conversions a human can and would do, right? This means lead forms above page views, right? Bots can do page views all day long. Now, bots can also fill out lead forms, so I'm going to look for valid leads as well. But those are the conversions I'm going to focus on. So lead forms are going to be more important to me than page views. And phone calls using a call tracking number specific for PPC above everything else, right? So I'm going to look for chats, I'm going to look for texts, I'm going to look for lead form submissions, and I'm going to look for phone calls. These are the things a human can do that a bot cannot do, that fraudulent clicks cannot get me. Now, another best practice is getting answers from your PPC provider in plain language. For example, the questions I have about the lack of proper goal tracking setup should be answered in words anyone can understand. If your SEM speaks in complicated verbiage, they are most likely trying to get you to shut up. So again, run. They should be able to explain to you in layman terms. Now, these are some of the best SEM practices that we just went through, but let's look at some of the worst practices. So the first worst practice is this. Unless you have an unlimited budget for PPC, you need to be very careful in what you're buying, okay? Overpaying for one bad keyword may mean that you can't buy 10 good ones, okay? In this case, the SEM didn't put a cap on the dealer's keyword spend, and they wasted money. So we had a Ford F-150 clicks that were costing the dealer an average of almost $17 a click. And yet Ford Fusion Price, which is a lower funnel keyword, right? It's more of a buying keyword than just Ford F-150. Those clicks were only costing this dealer $1.53. So for every Ford F-150 click, because this dealer didn't have an unlimited budget, that meant that there were 10 or 11 lower funnel clicks that they could have and should have bought. Longer tail clicks that are more associated with buying. Now, here's another worst practice. How about this? Competing with your OEM. Let's dive in on this one. This one cracks me up. I see this all the time. One of the worst things you can do is buy research keywords because you're most often competing with your OEM. That's what's happening here with AutoNation, Mitsubishi, and Spokane. A research keyword is where the OEM is going to enjoy a higher quality score more than any dealer, meaning they're going to get a lower cost per click. So in this case, MitsubishiCars.com is the highest quality score, the lowest cost per click. They're always going to be number one. Plus, in this case, I don't even know why the dealer would want to just buy the word Mitsubishi, but in this case, the nearest Mitsubishi competitor is 135 miles away. And if you look, AutoNation Mitsubishi Spokane owned the page after the pay-per-click. If they weren't buying pay-per-click, of course Mitsubishi is going to come up number one organically. And like I said, Mitsubishi's coming up number one in the pay-per-click because they have the lower cost per click. But AutoNation Mitsubishi has the Google My Business position locked up on desktop and mobile. So why are they competing with the OEM? I don't know. You have to ask them. But that's a worst practice. See, every wasted dollar on something like this is a PPC dollar that you can't spend somewhere else. And by the way, PPC is too expensive to buy these high funnel clicks, okay? And high funnel clicks are someone that's in the research stage. Leave this to the OEM. Let's deep dive into this one and take a look at, this is a great research keyword that we see all the time, okay? Honda. What does that mean, right? Why? For some research keywords like Honda, it could mean anything, right? Autos, motorcycles, scooters, ATVs, jets, lawnmowers, snow throwers, generators, boat engines, robots. But there's another AutoNation store buying the word Honda. There's a Larry Miller store buying the word Honda in their market. To me, that doesn't make any sense. That is a high funnel keyword, and it's a research keyword that could mean anything. These high funnel keywords are too expensive. They're simply too expensive for most of you to buy. Now, I'm not privy to both of their budgets, Larry Miller Honda in Spokane or AutoNation Honda in Spokane, but I can tell you that for most of you, it makes 0 sense to compete against your OEM for these keywords that they're going to win, these research keywords. How about this one? Here's a worst practice, competing with yourself. And you're probably saying, well, Steve, no one. But no one would compete with themselves. Well, AutoNation is. I don't mean to pick on them, but I did these searches in my market. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and so these searches were in my market. I discovered this gem when I was building the SEO portion of today's webcast. It looks like AutoNation Chevy in Spokane Valley has 2 SEM providers bidding against each other, the 2 ads that you see. And before you think that this was intentional, look at the top ad. Now, I did this search December 8th, 2017. And look what they're telling me. The new 2017 Chevrolets are here. Who in the world is managing this mess? Folks, they're wasting their money. They're not even updating the copy, but that's not what this worst practice is about. They're competing with themselves. What's probably happening is they're buying through the OEM and they're buying through themselves, right? The OEM's provider and they're buying through themselves, possibly. Maybe it's tier 2. I don't know, but it is a worst practice. Now, the next question comes up is, should we bid on our own name? I get that question all the time. This, by the way, it's called a branded keyword. This is how your SEM explains it. They always say, this is your branded campaign. It sounds like a great campaign. Oh, man, I ought to have a branded campaign. Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's throw $3,000 a month at our branded campaign, okay? What they're saying when they say it's a branded campaign, you're buying your own name. Now, let's be clear. Should you buy your own name? Should you be bidding on your own name? First, if you're Atlanta Toyota, then the answer is yes, okay? If you chose a city name and as your dealership name, Atlanta Toyota, then yeah, unfortunately, no matter what, you've got to be bidding on your own name. But if you're Stawning Toyota, it's a bit more complicated. Bad SEMs and Google will tell you to always bid on your own name. Why? Because these are your best keywords. All right, let's deep dive onto this page here for Knutson Chevrolet. Why is this your best keywords? Because most of your website leads and calls are going to come from people who've searched specifically for you. Now, would it make any sense for Knutson Chevrolet in this instance to buy their own name? No, and they're not, because they're number 1 organically, and they're number 2 organically, and they've got the Google My Business page. Anybody looking for Knutson is going to find Knutson, and that's what Google wants people to do. But here's the deal. Why does Google want you to bid on your own name? Why does your bad SEM want you to bid on your own name? And by the way, good SEMs want you to bid on your own name too, but they can explain the reasons for you, and they can track the ROI. But let me be very clear. That's where your best website leads and calls are come from, are people who search specifically for you based on your standing in the marketplace, based on the ads that you run, based on everything else. Let me tell you about Restoration Hardware. If you didn't read this recently, it was a couple of months ago, but Restoration Hardware discovered that 98% of their online business came from variations of their own name. 22 keywords. I think they were buying 3,200 different keywords that they were bidding on. But 22 of those keywords are what drove 98% of their business. Those 22 keywords were Restoration Hardware or misspellings of Restoration Hardware. Okay? They were wasting their PPC budget buying their own name. Those people would have found Restoration Hardware anyway. Now, the PPC vendor and Google, they want the money that this drives, right? And they want the credit for these leads and calls, of course, because they can commingle these with the rest of your spend and they can look like they're doing a better job. These keywords used to be dirt cheap. This is where you need to really look at this. For the dealer buying their own name, it used to be something like a 50-cent click, a 25-cent click, when other clicks were $3. Now, those clicks I'm starting to see, when they're compared to other clicks, are starting to get right in line with that, a couple of bucks. That doesn't make any sense. Some dealers today are paying over $2 a click to attract someone already looking for them. So how do you tell whether this makes sense? All right. The number one test is simple. How do you really rank for your own name, right? If you're Knutson Chevrolet, you own it. By the way, Search Station that we talked about a couple of sections ago, they have a report that shows the organic keywords that you own that you're also bidding for on PPC. So you can make a decision by looking in Search Station and say, wait a minute, I'm bidding on that and I own it. You can look at that report and find out. Now, if you're AutoNation Toyota, you own the organic results, right? But in this case, we'll take a look at them. They've got a competitor bidding on their own name, or at least not making their name a negative keyword. So again, I told you this isn't a Google Analytics class, but here's the deal. Parker Toyota at the bottom of that red box is a competing dealer, the closest competing dealer to AutoNation Toyota Spokane, at least from going east. It's the closest competitor. Now, they're bidding on the name AutoNation Toyota, or they're just bidding on the word Toyota in our marketplace. The bottom line is they own the organic results. AutoNation Toyota does, right? They have the number 1 and number 2 organic spots, plus they own the Google My Business page. Now, should you be bidding as AutoNation Toyota is doing? I say no in this case, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. But here's a big one. Look at the phone numbers. So the red arrow points to the pay-per-click phone number. that when a human calls that number, when someone searches AutoNation Toyota and they call that number, AutoNation Toyota pays as if they clicked on it, okay? And the SEM gets the results from that. And they get to say, oh, look, we drove this phone call for you. Well, what if they didn't include the phone number into that place? Or what if they weren't buying the #1 spot? Well, guess what is on the at the green arrow on the Google My Business or the business card page is a phone number. Now, and that phone number is free. So I'm not paying for someone to call me. I'm not paying to be 411. Now, here's why I wouldn't do it in this case. Okay, if I was AutoNation Toyota, I would not be buying my name, AutoNation Toyota. Competitive keywords have almost no ROI. For most dealers, bidding on competitor names hurts your quality score because it's a low click-through rate and it's a bad landing page experience. So in this case here, if I'm Parker Toyota and I'm bidding on AutoNation Toyota, and again, they might just be doing it accidentally. They just didn't make, they're bidding on all Toyota keywords and didn't make AutoNation a negative keyword. But the person who accidentally clicks on my ad, because that's what it's going to be an accidental click, there are going to be very few of those, so I'm going to get a low click-through rate, so I've got to pay more and more for that keyword. It's going to hurt my quality score for that, whatever brand I'm going, whatever experience I'm going after, whatever campaign I have that on. But then when they click through and they go, oh, this is Parker Toyota. No, I'm looking for AutoNation Toyota because that's where my car is in for service, right? So then they go back to Google and click on AutoNation Toyota or find the phone number in the Google My Business. See, this means Parker, they're paying a higher cost per click for a lower position, and they're not converting any of the accidental clicks. You want to buy your name because you want to protect it, right? Because you have a competitive situation where others are bidding on your name. My question is this: are you bidding on their name? And if you are, have you looked at that campaign lately? Does it have any ROI, or are these the most expensive clicks you're buying with the least results? So, should you buy competitive names? All right. In this case, if I'm Parker Toyota, should I be bidding on AutoNation Toyota? Listen, if you're competing with Atlanta Toyota, then yes, of course, I'm going to buy competitor names. But if you're competing against Stawning Toyota or AutoNation Toyota, then I'm only going to buy competitor names if it has a measurable ROI at the keyword level. So I know that the people who clicked on an AutoNation Toyota keyword to Parker Toyota, right? I'm going to be able to measure that at the keyword level, look at the leads and the sales from the keyword. Plus, my ad copy must be targeted for this. They must know that I'm a competitor. See, chances are, though, you're going to find, as most dealers have who've looked at the ROI, there is almost no ROI from buying your competitor names. There's no ROI in it. There really isn't. Let's look at the ROI. Let's separate that campaign, make it a competitive campaign. And some of you will say, well, Steve, we only put $500 against it. Well, then what are you going after, right? If you're not there all the time, if you're not really going after that competitor, what are you doing? You're not doing anything. You're hurting your overall quality score and you're raising your cost per click, and there's almost no ROI in that. All right, here's another worst practice, and this is where your vendor wants to commingle their organic and paid search results together. Now, website companies that are selling you SEO and SEM, they're famous for showing you one report that combines your organic traffic with your paid traffic. This is a gigantic red flag, and it's the #1 reason I recommend you not buy PPC from your website provider. Let me say that again. Don't buy PPC from your website provider. If they cannot provide you accurate, understandable reports that separate the performance of each channel, organic and paid, then it's time to run. Now, of course, all of this is easy if they properly configure your Google Analytics and your AdWords accounts. There's no real mystery in not getting taken by an unscrupulous PPC company. The only mystery is why are 90% of the dealers I encounter still being taken? It's not complicated. It means verifying and asking questions. And again, it means paying Google directly. So let me give you a few final wants for your SEM provider and give you the one that I recommend. Listen, I want someone, if I'm buying pay-per-click SEM, I want someone with actual car dealer experience. I don't want a set it and forget it vendor, okay? Here's the reason. If they've got real car car dealer experience, they can help me with aged inventory, for example, right? We can use pay-per-click to drive down my aged inventory. I want the same rep month after month. I want to be able to speak to the same PPC rep month after month. I want access to the CEO or founder of the company. I don't need a gigantic company buying me pay-per-click. The bid management tools that are out there and the software that's out there, they're inexpensive. Again, no one has a secret sauce, just like SEO. I want full transparency with 100% accountability. Now, Venture Automotive is the one company that I know that provides all of this, okay? And everything that we've discussed so far. Now, there are 2 other companies that I'm familiar with that let you pay Google directly as part of their setup. And seek them out if you want. I mean, that's the first question you're going to ask your SEO provider. But I can't recommend them today for 2 reasons, and I want you to understand this. This is the only reason I only recommend Venture right now is I don't work with any of the dealers who use them. So while I've interviewed these 2 vendors and I looked at their product, I don't work with any dealers who actually use them. So I can't verify their results. I can't actually do a true deep dive down into what the dealer is actually getting. Plus, both of these vendors want to sell you way more than digital marketing. And I'm not a fan of bundling. And I'm not a fan of bundling since this makes it easier to hide fraud and waste. And again, I don't think either of those companies are fraudulent, but I know Venture Automotive is a truly honest SEM company. But here's the deal. When we get OEM co-op, if we use the OEM recommended providers, for most of you, this practice costs you more than you get back from co-op. Hidden fees, bad keyword purchases, and a whole lot more. Plus, if you buy the OEM's program, then it gives the OEM control over your future. That said, if you pay Google directly and your Google Analytics and AdWords accounts are linked and the goals are properly set up, then all you have to do is manage the ROI. All right, but what about click fraud? Okay, so we had that question come up earlier. Brian was asking about it. Listen, let's relax about click fraud. Although click fraud is real and it costs billions every single year, a reputable SEM provider will worry about this so you don't have to. See, so long as you're doing all the other best practices, right? Paying Google directly, connecting the accounts, tracking and measuring, click fraud is not your concern, it's their concern. See, the real ROI measurements, they take care of click fraud issues because you simply will stop doing business with an SEM that provides a bad return on investment, right? Therefore, good SEM is going to do everything they can to combat this, all right? Let's dive into display. And we'll just call it what it is. The theft they call display advertising, because that's what I see out there. I see this a lot. Now, this is where the real ad fraud exists. Depending on the source, digital ad fraud runs between $12 and $16 billion every year, and it's growing. This fraud's not perpetrated, though, by your display vendor. I want you to understand that. But generally by sketchy websites and mobile apps that they'll put up tons of ads, and they use bots, right, robots, to look at the ads and click on them. Now, while your SEM might be stealing from you, your SEM, by the way, provides you with your display marketing as well. While they might be stealing from you, they're generally not doing it with fake ad views and bot clicks, okay? So, just like click fraud and PPC, your best option to combat digital ad fraud and display is to track and measure your ROI. So, where do you track this? You track it in Google Analytics, of course. See, you should be buying display from your PPC provider and through the AdWords system only, so that all of the conversion metrics remain the same. So where is your SEM stealing when it comes to display? Let me take you through this. One, via the underreporting of admin and management fees, just like they do with PPC. And they do this by marking up the cost of the display ads. Now, to combat this, again, you need to be paying Google directly for your display as well. Let me give you a quick display theft example that I see a lot with display. Your agency, the person selling you the PPC and the display, they're buying display impressions for about $1 per 1,000 impressions, also called a $1 CPM, cost per 1,000. They sell these impressions to you at anywhere between $5 and let's say $18 CPM, and they tell you that's a good deal. This means that for every 1 million impressions, you should be paying $1,000, but instead you're paying $5,000 to $18,000 for the same million impressions. And wait a minute, my SEM, my display advertising company, vendor, they're paying $1,000 and they're charging me between $5,000 and $18,000. Where did the extra $4,000 or $17,000 go? In their pocket. See, now, how are you falling for this? The number one problem is you're paying the SEM vendor for your display. You're paying them directly instead of paying Google through your AdWords account. And they're generously, I've seen this, hey, listen, we're not going to charge you for display. We're going to run that separately for you. So we're going to be generous, right? They're not charging you a management fee for display since you're already paying, 41% for your PPC management, but you're paying a whole lot more, generally up to 500% or more. That's why it says 500% plus markup. Now, they tell you again that a $5 CPM or an $18 CPM or anything in between, that's a great price. We got you a great price. You're going to be on all the top sites. Now, how do you combat this? Same as pay-per-click. Again, pay Google directly and link your display account to your analytics account. But Steve, hear this. Our vendor said they use multiple ad exchanges to optimize bid strategy. Okay? Those multiple ad exchanges, that's where the fraud occurs most often. Demand they only use Google for display and require that they link the display account with its spend, how much they're spending, to your analytics account. But again, just pay Google directly. We take care of all that. All right, we're in the home stretch. What we're going to do is we're going to recap very quickly, and I'm going to give you I'll give you some checklists here in the end, but don't worry about writing everything down because I'm going to give you a location where you can download that checklist. So with digital marketing, everything can and should be measured. All right. Google Analytics provides, when it's properly managed and set up, provides you all you need for managing your PPC and your display budgets. Google Analytics gives you 100% spend transparency. It's possible when you're paying directly, and anything less is unacceptable. Now, for SEO, you need Search Station. I'm sorry you do. If you know of a better tool or a similar tool, please tell me. I'll recommend that as well. But Search Station is the only tool I know that can keep your team and your SEO vendor focused on what you need. Now, all right, it's a lot to remember, so let's do some quick checklists for your SEO and SEM vendors. And we'll walk through these here, but I'll give you a location where you can download the semi-detailed versions of these for free. So this is our SEO accountability checklist, the things that are going to be included on that. Number one, all search is local. And for SEO, Google is the authority. We need to remember that. There is no magic, and there's no secret sauce with SEO. Good SEO is simply good content plus good distribution. And the impact of SEO is 100% measurable when you're using something like Search Station. SEO vendor reports that they show you are mostly worthless, okay? Now, these are the questions that you should ask your SEO, right? Or that your SEO report should answer. And if your SEO reports don't answer these questions, then you need to find a new SEO or, like I said, get Search Station. So how do I compare to all competitors for the important keywords in my market if I'm not number one, who is? What is my relative rank on near me searches done within my market? How do I improve or decline? How did I improve rather or decline relative to others week over week? And really important, who got the Google My Business or the local pack results and on which keywords did they get them? All right, and then during your monthly SEO review, you want to ask, what did you guys do to improve this metric last month? Did it work? Great, then show me and ask to see their SEO journal that they keep for your sites. Now remember, Search Station is the only way I know to track the relative local position of you and your competitors over time and keep your SEO focused. All right, let's get to the SEM checklist. For SEM, Google is a vendor. Don't ever forget that. They are Lamar billboards. They are the radio station, the TV. They are your vendor. You cannot and should not run your own PPC and display. Always use an outside vendor, but follow the rest of the checklist. Use your own AdWords account and pay Google directly with your credit card for both PPC and display. If your vendor is unwilling to let you pay Google directly with your credit card for your Google AdWords account, then you need to run, not walk from that vendor. If you're unwilling to pay Google directly and you want to allow the vendor to have an AdWords account set up for you, then make sure that you get actual access to it, all right? Dealers not paying Google directly for display can assume the impressions they are buying are marked up as much as 500%. Your PPC and display accounts must be linked to your Google Analytics account. And there's nothing proprietary on the vendor side that keeps them from properly linking your AdWords to your Google Analytics account. So if they claim that there is something keeping you from doing it, then run, all right? All conversion metrics should be clearly defined in the reporting and set up in Google Analytics by your SEM vendor. See, you don't have to be the expert in Google Analytics. Your SEM vendor does. Be sure to emphasize those conversions that a human can and would do. This means you want to look at lead forms above page views and that phone calls are above everything else. They're the most important. If all the SEM wants to do is show you cost per click, impressions, quality score, click-through rate, and average position, then you need to run because, as I said, none of these are success metrics. Now, your good SEM reviews, they take about 20 minutes on a WebEx. You do not need to meet with the SEM in person in your dealership. Just get on a WebEx. You want to make sure you get 100% transparency in your entire PPC and display spend. And because it is possible, if your vendor is not providing that, then change vendors. Click fraud is easily avoided when you have 100% transparency into your spend and you are properly measuring the ROI of every keyword. Now, let me give you some basic SEM do's and don'ts, and we'll wrap it up. Or some basic SEM don'ts, rather. Don't allow any vendor to use their own Google Analytics account or replace your Google Analytics account. All right? Make sure that if they want to configure your Google Analytics account for their spend and link that, that's great. And if they want to put their own code on your site, that's great. But your code wins. Your Google Analytics code is all that's important. Don't overpay for keywords. Don't compete with your OEM for keywords. And don't buy your dealership's name as a keyword unless you are fully aware of the impact to your SEM budget. Because again, we don't have unlimited budgets. Don't buy your competitor's name as a keyword unless you are fully aware of the impacts on that to your SEM budget. Don't allow your SEM vendor to commingle your organic and paid traffic in the same report. Don't use your OEM's preferred vendors just because you can co-op the budget, okay? Make sure they're also providing 100% transparency and allowing you to pay Google directly. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. We're going to look at a few more slides, and then we're going to stay on for any questions. If you have questions after today, make sure that you contact me at stevestawning.com, or you can email me directly, steve@stevestawning.com. These are my training sites. They're 100% free, stevestawning.com and undeniableadvantage.com. Again, 100% free video training on both sites. Be sure to share those with your teams. Make sure that you like us on the Facebook, right? So like me, /SM Stawning, and like Undeniable Advantage, /UD Advantage. Follow us on the Twitter. I am at Steve Stawning on Twitter. Undeniable Advantage is at UD Advantage on the Twitter. Look for both. Please follow both. You'll get lots of great information, I promise. And here's where I told you you'd get the checklists that we just went through. Go to stevestawning.com /2018 list.pdf. And list, L-I-S-T, is in all capitals. It matters. stevestawning.com /2018 LIST, all caps on the LIST, .pdf. Okay, and you'll be able to download the two, the SEM and SEO list. They'll be combined into one document. You can download that PDF. You don't have to sign up for anything.